We're going to build a clone of DocuSign in this video to show you that it's possible to build a full stack app 100% with AI coding tools. To do this, I'm using Google's AI Studio as a starting place. It's a free tool that you can use by going to ai.dev, go to the build tab, and you can start building for free. This is kind of like Lovable. Now, there's a couple things you should be aware of about Google's AI Studio and what makes it different. So first, it's not going to build the backend and user authentication of your app. I think that's something that Google is going to add later on with Firebase, but as of now, that's not built into AI Studio. So I'm going to show you later in the video how we can sync to GitHub, and then we're going to continue building this app in Cursor and add a backend and user authentication using Supabase. So I'm going to show you step by step how to go from idea to a fully deployed full stack app. But we're starting here in AI Studio to build our basically MVP, just our mockup, or even more than a mockup, kind of our prototype of the app that we want to build. So in this case, I just sent a very simple prompt. I want to build a clone of DocuSign, should include all the important features of the app. And I am using the Gemini 3 Pro preview model. This is the most powerful model right now that Google has. And then we're going to, in a minute, see an actual preview of the app that we can play around with and test. Now, there are a lot of ways to build apps with AI, and this is not the only way, but I think this is one of the easier ways to get started with. And I really like that AI Studio is free so that you can build your prototype. So the first version of our app is ready. I called it .clone, so it came up with a name. We can see we have a dashboard. It looks like the agreements page didn't work. Let me just refresh. So right now, I guess only the dashboard seems to work. There's drafts waiting on others completed, and then new document. So if I click new document, it wants me to upload a file. So let me see if I can get like a template document online that we can upload. So right off the bat, I'm noticing that I can't upload PDFs. So I'm going to say, make sure I can upload PDFs as documents, because it was only letting me upload images, but I want to make sure that we can upload PDFs as well. And this is where the iteration of building with the AI comes in. So you're going to want to test out your app, see if you run into any issues, and then ask the AI to make those changes. Perfect. So I was able to upload this PDF of a New York sublease contract, which I got online. And now I'm really curious to see all the features that it built in. So I see it created an AI assistant. I'm not sure what that actually does. Something that so it only can integrate with Google's AI models, but it does that in a really good way. So it will basically allow you to test out AI features in your app. Even if your app doesn't necessarily need AI features, I find that AI Studio is always going to put some AI feature in, because ultimately Google wants you to build apps that use their AI models, and then you're going to spend tokens. So this is kind of their ultimate goal, which is why there is this AI assistant. So we can check that out in a second, but let's see. So there's basically fields. So I guess I need to, it's basically telling me where I need to add them, which is interesting. Let's see. So basically, I can add like a text box here, put this here. So that would be like anywhere where there's a field, I should be able to just like add text boxes. This is pretty amazing. And again, remember, this took like maybe 10 minutes or maybe less for the AI Studio to build this in. Okay, so I'm adding text. I'm not going to do it everywhere just to make it easier for now. Let's add in, okay, so signature here at the bottom. And I guess I can do a signature, adopt and sign. And other AI assistant, let's see what happens. So if we click AI assistant, maybe it's going to kind of give like ideas of how to improve our contract. That could be interesting. It looks like it's automatically saving. Okay, failed to call Gemini API. Please try again. So for now, I'm not going to do that. We can come back to it. So let's say finish. So let's see what happens. So it says status is completed, waiting on others. So I think we're going to need to build in a few more features here to make it more feature complete with DocuSign. So the prompt that I'm giving it is that we need to add more features, and basically just describing exactly what I want to see. So the admin should be able to set up the contract first with text input and where people sign. After it's set up, we would need to be able to send it to others. So the way DocuSign should work is we set up the contract where people need to sign, we send it to them, they sign it. After it's signed, it comes back to us as the admin, and we complete it. And then I also added this to the prompt, which is helpful if you're using a model or a tool that is going to have web research. So I said, do a little research on how DocuSign works in terms of workflow if needed. So Google's AI Studio should have a web search functionality to basically look up that kind of information. So that can be helpful. So it's making these updates now. So it said it made these changes. Let's try this again. Now, something to note. Now you'll see that the drafts actual part completed is all cleared out. That's because we don't actually have a database yet built in. It's all in the front end. So every time we essentially refresh the page or make changes, it is going to clear out. What it did here on the top is it's showing us an admin view and client view. Now, I guess it's doing this so that we can test out the feature as both the admin and the client. But let's start by adding a document. Great. So now basically I'm viewing as an admin and it has a setup tip to drag fields onto the document, click a field to assign it to me or client. I'm also going to check the AI assistant because I think it made an update here to fix that feature. It just changed the model to make sure that it supports images. So here, right off the bat, very cool. Basically just giving us like some analysis of potential risks for the contracts, which I think is a nice feature to add, actually. Pretty cool that it did that. But that's not the main thing that we want to test right now. We want to really test the ability for it to be set up correctly and sent out. So let's try this out. I'm going to go ahead and put a text box. So let's just say we put a text box here. Again, we would probably fill this out a little bit, but you can change it between me and the client, which is very cool. So let's do that. And then let me just put like signature down here. So put this down here. So it's asking me to add my signature, which I feel like it shouldn't do that. I feel like the signature should be empty and we should fill it out when we sign. So I'm going to, before we keep going, make that change. Actually, before we do that, let me just check the date signed to see if it's doing that as well. And yeah, so it's doing the same thing. So that signature field, like basically an initials. Let's see if it's forcing me to add initials. That actually it's not, which is interesting. So I'm going to say when we add the signature field setting up the contract and the date sign, those should be empty until either the client or the admin actually signs the contract. During setup, it should be empty. Any questions? So we'll send that off. Let's see if that resolves it. And this is the back and forth that you have to do. Really soon we're going to get to the cool part of syncing to GitHub and bringing all of this into Cursor, adding the backend, adding user authentication. But getting all of this set up first here is going to put us in a really great place so that later on, everything goes as smoothly as possible. This video is brought to you by Sansa. If you're vibe coding apps but find yourself getting stuck, Sansa provides AI engineers to take your app from 80% done to 100% done. Their expert engineers optimize your credit usage, secure your application, fix critical blockers, and help you ship complex features fast. I think this is a really cool idea because AI makes building apps really easy to get started with, but it can be difficult sometimes to cross the finish line and truly build what you want without a ton of trial and error. Sansa has AI experts who can prevent you from getting stuck and help you cross that finish line. Click the link in the description to check out Sansa and schedule a call with them to see if they're a good fit for your project. And they can work with any AI platform that you've been building on, whether it's Cursor, Mocha, Replit, Lovable, Claude. As long as you have code, their AI engineers can help you with your project. So let's try this one more time. Let's add a signature here at the bottom and we can be like, this is, okay, perfect admin signature. And we can add another one as the client signature. And then let's also just test this out as like a text box basically to fill in. And let's just say this is something like this security deposit. The admin will fill that in. Perfect. So I'm going to save progress. And then let's test this out. I'm going to click send to client. So now it says 1 is action required. It's sent. I can go to the client view now. And let's see. I'm going to click sign now. So I can go down. Oh, so that I would need to fill in. Okay, so maybe we would want to, I mean, in reality, this would be something that we would manually fill in as like the contract. You wouldn't fill this in afterwards. But just for testing purposes, let's just see how this works. So client sign. We'd also clean this up better with like better places to sign, but really we just want to test functionality. So the client signed, we're going to say finish signing. So now it's in review. We'll go to admin. We're going to click finalize. Now it's asking me as the admin. So let's put in $2,000 security deposit. and then the admin signs, we'll adopt and sign, and we're going to click finalize document. And there we go. Now it's finalized and we have our completed document here. And we could add more features like the ability to download it, automatic emails, things like that. But right off the bat, pretty great like MVP prototype of DocuSign. This is a billion-dollar company. Of course, there's a lot of regulatory things and all sorts of things that go into DocuSign, but the purpose of this is just to show you what's possible using AI to build a full stack app. But if you stop here, you would not have a full stack app that's deployed that other people could use. It's really just a prototype. Now, this alone is cool. You can publish this and share it with other people, so other people could test this out, or you could make a screen recording, show other people what they think on your team, get feedback, make changes. But we are going to go the next step here to actually turn this into a production app. So to do this, we're going to save to GitHub. So we need to sync all of the code, all of this code here, which is living in AI Studio. We're going to sync it to GitHub, which is going to give us access to it anywhere else we want. We're going to use that in Cursor. So to do this, I'm going to click Save to GitHub, and you just have to connect your GitHub account to AI Studio. If you don't have one, you can create a GitHub account for free. We're going to give this a name and description. So I'm just calling it DocuSign clone, cloning DocuSign, creating a GitHub repo. A repo is a repository where all of the code is going to live. And we have all of our packages. I'm going to click Stage and Commit. So here's all the files that were changed. This is everything, since this is the first commit to GitHub. So now everything is saved on GitHub. We could keep making changes here, but once you make changes that you're happy with, you want to save to GitHub again and commit those next changes. So anywhere you're working, we're doing the same thing in Cursor, and we have the code on our local computer. When you make changes, you need to push to GitHub. Once you do that, then anywhere you are working with that GitHub repository, including here in AI Studio, is going to be pulling the code from the same exact place. So that's the value of GitHub, why it's so helpful. So now that it's on GitHub, I'm going to show you how to access it and actually use that code inside of Cursor. And then what we're going to do is add user authentication, a backend database, and deploy the app. So we're going to click on this link and go to GitHub. So here we are inside of GitHub. It has all of the code. It created a little README to show us how to run and deploy our app. It's setting a couple things, including I'll show you how to do this in Cursor, just you have to do a few commands. For the Gemini API key, this is what you would need to add to make that AI functionality work. That's actually not as important for this specific app and tutorial, but it was a cool feature that we could continue adding on to if we wanted. So let's go ahead, and you need to go to the top right under code, under HTTPS. You just want to copy that URL to your clipboard. And then I'm going to show you in Cursor how you can import the code to your own computer. So here I am inside of Cursor. You can download it for free. What I need to do is say clone repo here in the middle. I'm going to paste that URL and say clone from URL. So then you hit clone, you save all the code to your own computer. So now I have a new file on my own computer called DocuSign clone. And these are all the files that we have in GitHub and from AI Studio. So this is all the code. You can click on it. You can see what it looks like. Now this code is now living on my own computer, on my local computer. It's not connected to the internet, the code. So if we make changes, we're going to have to push those changes to GitHub. Now, in order to do what I just did to paste that in, if you have a private repository, it will, I think, Cursor will ask you to log into GitHub so that you can actually do it. But Cursor makes that pretty easy as an easy process to get that connected. But now we're going to do the fun work of getting our app production ready and showing you how it's possible to go from idea to a fully deployed app. And this is just in like an hour. So you could imagine if you are really working on an idea for a week, you can make so much progress in these types of ideas. So I'm going to show you the foundation. The additional work would be adding features to the app and making sure that it has everything that you want. So what we're going to do is do a couple commands. So a couple things you should know about Cursor. If you're new to it, on the top, you can toggle the sidebar on the top left. On the bottom, we can toggle panel. So this is really helpful. We want to use the terminal here inside of Cursor. Just make sure that basically a terminal is a way to kind of talk to your computer. And by using it in Cursor, it's automatically doing it inside of the folder that we are working in, which is helpful. So a couple of things right off the bat, we need to do npm install. So what this is going to do is add some packages that we need to run everything locally. So it added 136 packages. Now what we can do is npm run dev. So this is just a specific command. Now, if you ever forget that command, you can always go to the chat on the right side with the agent and just ask it, hey, how do I run this locally? How do I do this? How do I do that? The AI will basically be your tutor to help you build everything as you're going. So here we are in Cursor. So Cursor is running localhost 3000. Localhost is basically like, think of it as like a website on your own computer where this is not on the internet yet. But they have this like browser inside of Cursor, which is really helpful from a UI perspective. So you can see and test it out directly in Cursor. So this is what we're seeing here is exactly what you were seeing in AI Studio. As we add features, we're going to be able to test it inside of Cursor. So I'm trying to think of which feature we want to do first. So let's start with adding Supabase. So we have user authentication and a backend database. So what I'm going to do is go to this little toggle on the left of the chat. We're going to go into plan mode. I'm going to stick with Opus 4.5. It is a bit expensive, so you could use a different model if you want, but I think it is the best model right now. So that's what I'm going to use. It's the best model, especially for planning, but I think it's just really good at coding. And the reason I like to start in plan mode is, especially for a new feature, is it'll just let Cursor build out the plan. We can review it, see if there's anything we want to change before it executes on the plan, and it'll just generally give us a better result to plan first. So here's another cool feature. Cursor is asking us some questions to basically optimize the plan. What authentication method would you like? Email, password, magic link, Google, or multiple methods? I'm going to start with email password. You have a Supabase project created. Yes or no? I need to create one. Why don't I say yes, and I'll create one right now. How should user roles work? Document based. Any user can create docs and sign docs or fixed roles. User either admin or clients. I'm going to say document based. Any user can create docs and sign docs. So let's do that, and I'm going to hit continue. The last one was actually a really good question about like the setup of the app. So now here I am in Supabase. Let's create a project. We need to create a new project for this. So I'm creating a new project. It costs $10 a month, but I'm just going to go ahead and do it. I'll cancel it afterwards. But Supabase does charge $10 a month per project. So it's not free. It does have a cost to use Supabase. But actually, it's not entirely true because you can, if you're on Supabase's free plan, you can create a new project. I think 2 projects for free, I think, with like limited maybe storage, something like that. So we have this, it's going to set up the project, and these APIs and project URLs are going to be helpful, what we need. But for now, we're just going to let Cursor get started. So let's open the plan and see everything that it says it wants to build. It builds out this architecture overview, which is really cool. The database schema, the implementation steps, it's saying like everything it needs to do and all the files and code it needs to run. So I'm going to go ahead and say build. I like the plan. And now we're going to let Cursor, really Opus 4.5, build out the plan and execute on it. Then I'm going to show you exactly how to add your Supabase API keys, run the database queries to actually create the database tables, sync everything together so that we have our Supabase user authentication and database. And this is what takes your project from just like a prototype to a full stack application. So it finished with the implementation of what it needed to do. And if we read the summary of changes, we can see what files it created, modified, what it installed, the Supabase package. And now there's some next steps that it's giving to us as a manual setup required. Now, if we set up the Supabase MCP, which is something that is possible, you could have the AI do a little bit more of this for you. But I think it's helpful to understand how this all works and do it manually at least your first time. And it's really not that hard to do. So there's a couple things. So first, we need to create a .env file. This is basically a file to hold API keys, and it's going to be secure and basically something that isn't going to be able to be shared and accessed by other people. So I'm going to create a new file here in our folder, .env, and then in that .env file, I'm going to copy what it needs me to put. So it's the Supabase URL and the Supabase anon key. We can find these in the settings in the Supabase dashboard. So I'll show you exactly where to get that. So we're in Supabase. We're just going to go to project settings, and we can go to API, data API. And this is where we're going to get that information. So the project URL, I'm going to copy that, go back to Cursor, and paste that in right here. And then Supabase anon key. So to do that, we're going to go to API keys. And here you can see there's publishable and secret API keys. Supabase just updated their documentation, so Cursor is not aware of this new documentation yet. So we could easily just have Cursor look up that documentation and update it. But I'm just going to go to the legacy anon key for now to show you how it works. But it would be as easy as just going in and basically pasting in a documentation of the new documentation of how to replace the anon key. But I'm going to use what we have right now because it still will work, and it's going to be supported for a long time because a lot of apps are set up in this way. So we have our Supabase URL and Supabase anon key. So we did that. And let's see the next steps it wants us to do. Next, we need to run the database migration. So go to Supabase's project SQL editor and run the contents of this folder. So we can just click on that, and let's make sure we go to the right folder here. So we can go to, so it's just this Supabase schema.sql file that it created. And this again is something with Supabase MCP. It could run this for us. This is basically, if we paste this into the SQL editor here on the left side, we're just going to paste in all of that code. It's going to create all of the tables, and you can see that it's creating tables for documents, creating fields for the table, etc. So we're going to run that. And if we get no rows returned success, that means if we go to our table editor now and refresh, but we didn't even have to refresh, we can see we have a documents field and a document fields table. So documents and a document fields table. And this, as we start using the app, is going to get populated with data. And this is what makes our app full stack. So we have our database saving the data, which is connected to the front end that we already have created. So I did that. So now we need to enable email auth. If not already, in your Supabase dashboard, go to Authentication and Providers and make sure email is enabled. So we'll go to Authentication. We're going to go to sign-in/providers. And email is enabled. And this is where you can easily, with Supabase, add in other ways of logging in, such as login with Google or any of these other auth providers, which is a lot. One thing I'm going to do, at least for now, you could always turn this back on later, is I'm going to turn off confirm email. It'll make it easier to test out the app. So if we go back to Cursor, so now it says we should be good. We will open up a new terminal here, and I'm just going to do npm run dev. That's what it says to do. Start the app. And if we click on that, hopefully it works. Well, you know what? It's open. It should already be here. So here we go. Localhost 3000. So it already updated. Now you can switch this just to show you what happened. Because it was already running, it's just doing it on a different local host. You can have, I guess, as many local hosts as you need, or as you have live. But I'm going to run it. It doesn't really matter. It's the same code running on 3000 and 3003. So I'll run it on 3003 since that was the last one. So now we can see we have our login. Now, this is basically the home page because there's nothing after this slash. We could create like a basic marketing page for it. But let's start out by signing up and just seeing if this works. I'm going to create an email and password, create account, and we logged in. So that means that the user authentication worked. I'm going to go and check in Supabase. We can go to our users or under authentication tab. We'll go to the manage users. Let's just refresh, and there we go. So now we see set the nocode.mba. We can see that the user is in the platform, so it successfully worked. So now I can go ahead and click new document. Okay, failed to process document. Please try again. So there we go. Right off the bat, we are getting an error. And actually, this is helpful. So we can work on debugging and see what might be going wrong. So I'm going to send a prompt that says exactly what happened. So I set up Supabase. I was able to log in. I set up the tables in Supabase. Now I'm saying what I did because this is going to help make sure that Cursor has all the information it needs to debug it. So it says, then I'm saying when I tried to upload a document, I got an error. So it's going to check the logs. This is also what's helpful with having this inside of Cursor and testing it out. It has access to all of that really easily. Or actually, it's also running logs inside of Supabase. Sorry, so it's going to Supabase and checking the logs. So it sees the issue already. Permission denied for table users. This is because the RLS happens. So it's fixing the RLS policies. Now, I saw that it is using MCP. I think that it resolved it. So it did use MCP because I already had MCP set up in Cursor. Just to show you how to do this, because it is not that hard. I just want us, and since it did it on its own, I'm going to show you how to do that. So basically, you just go to File, or you want to go to Cursor Settings, and then what you can do is go to Tools and MCP, and then you just add the Supabase server. So you just log into Supabase, and then it's going to have the ability to do all of that through the Supabase MCP, which is basically a way for the AI to take action on its own. And there we go. So I uploaded the document and now it is working correctly. So a lot of times that there are issues like that with row level security. Now, this is an important thing because it's making sure that only people who should have access to specific parts of an app have access to it. So it is important, but sometimes that can cause issues where someone who's logged in can't access something, especially when you're testing. So let's try this out. Let's make sure that everything is working. I'm going to add a recipient signature and let's add another signature for the owner. Actually, I think it made a little update there compared to AI Studio to make it more clear who, because it was saying like admin and client, but me, owner, and recipient just makes it super clear, which I love. And then let's add a text box just to test this out. We'll add a date, or let's just put it here for recipient to fill out. So now let's test this out. I'm going to say send to recipient. Send for signature. Enter the email address of the person who needs to sign this document. I don't know if this is going to work or not, but let's try this out. Let's say I send it to Seth plus like recipient at nocode.mba. If you're not aware, you can add plus to any Gmail email address and it'll create an alias. So I'm going to send, document sent. The recipient will be notified to sign. I wonder if that's the case. I don't know if email is actually set up correctly in the app or not. Now, if it is, it will, I guess, be done through Supabase, but there are other ways to set up email with platforms like SendGrid to make it more scalable, but let's see if they did it in like a basic way to test it out. Now, I didn't receive an email because I don't think we've set that up yet, but what I want to do is sign out and sign in under this email and see if it at least is in there and I can sign it because that's something I want to see. Then we can check out the email issue. So let's do sign up because I need to sign up as Seth plus recipients at nocode.mba, create an account. And perfect. There we go. We can see documents assigned. It is working. It knew it was me because of that email. And let's click sign now. Can enter text. Okay, one issue is it looked like it didn't save this where I was hoping. Let's just put that in there. I'll sign. I don't know why that happened. Maybe it was because my screen size was off. I'll finish signing. Okay, failed to save document. Please try again. Another issue. All right, so let's say I sent a contract as an owner. The recipient, I'll say I tested as the recipient and I signed, but I got failed to save contract. And I have a feeling that's going to be another row level security issue that it's going to need to resolve. It's going to run get logs. This is, again, through the MCP, it's getting the logs of our project. And it sees the error. Yep, it is row level security again. We're really close to actually being able to deploy this app. And hopefully you're seeing like this is the process. And once we have it deployed, we're going to have like a database user authentication. And of course, there's a lot more work that would go into building more features and testing and making sure it's secure. There's a lot you'd want to do throughout the process of working through the code, the security, refactoring. A lot of times you want to refactor to make sure your code is clean and written in a good way as you're building out more features. Those are all things that you should be aware of, but the main thing in this video I want to show you is just like what's possible and how you can go from start to finish. Okay, so it says the policies are fixed, but there is also an issue in the code. When the recipient saves, the code tries to update all fields, including the owner field, so it's going to fix that as well. Okay, so it did all of that. This is what's cool about MCP is it just goes and really has access to everything and just does it all. Okay, so it says it did it. Why don't I click finish signing? Document signed. The owner will finalize. Great. So let's sign out and sign back in as the owner, which is the normal email. We'll go in. I can do owner sign, adopt and sign, finalize document. And there we go. So now it's completed. That worked. I do want to try this one more time just to see if what the issue was with where things were on the page. So now that it's just I'm just going to put the signature down here. Let's just test this. It'll just be recipient. Let's send it to the same. I think it was recipient. I don't know if I heard that on VA. Let's send that. And then let's try that. Let's click on it. I wonder if we can just see. So that looks better. It's still not perfect. So I'm going to say there are some issues where the signature or where the box is added don't perfectly show up in the place I placed them as the admin. So let's see if we can resolve that real quick. And after that, we can do one more test or then go to the deployment side of things in Vercel. And then also while that's happening, I just want to show you in the table editor, we can see that we have documents uploaded. We have the fields that were added. You can see it's doing it with like basically coordinates, X and Y coordinates of where those fields should be. So there just seems to be some issue a little bit with that. But otherwise, it seems to be working really well as like a basic prototype with a full backend and user authentication. So it says it sees the issue. It's likely how it's interacting with the document. So it says it found the issue. While it's doing that, I want to show you how we can add a new chat, and you can actually have two agents working at the same time because that one's still working. And then we have a new chat. I want to ask it, how would I add an email functionality to send contracts to recipients? So now it's telling us exactly how we would do it, which is what I was thinking. It would basically run an API call using Supabase edge functions with something like SendGrid or resend here. So it mentions resend, it mentions SendGrid, and it's giving us an implementation guide of how to do that. So it would be, I'm going to stop it because I don't actually want it to write this code right now, but it would actually be fairly straightforward to do that. You would basically just need to set up a resend account, add your API key, and then it would set that all up so that when you send out a contract, it would send the email through resend. You could also do SendGrid, but I think resend would be what I would use for this as well. So that would be how you would like add that functionality. And this is a good example of like, okay, you have a feature that doesn't work. How do we do it? You just ask the AI and then it tells you. Okay, so here it says it fixed the drag positioning logic. Refresh the page and try again. So let's see if it changes like the existing contract just to start. So that didn't. Let's try one more. Let's just add a signature at the bottom, send a recipient, which doesn't even matter. And I'll click send, and then let's check this one out. Okay, yep, there we go. So now it's showing up where it should be. So that's super important part of this, and that's just the debugging of going back and forth with the AI if you're seeing any issues. Okay, so we have built a fully functional app with user authentication, backend database, and features, and debugged it. And we've also created a plan of how to add that email functionality, which would make this even more fully featured. And even potentially something like you could use, I guess, like there might be some regulatory issues around signatures that you need to look into. But potentially, like if you use DocuSign, you could replace this or replace it with this. Again, you're going to look into whatever regulatory issues there are around signing contracts. Next, we're going to sync all the code we have on our local computer to GitHub. To do this, we're going to go in our terminal and do a few commands. If you ever forget these, you can ask the AI how to do it. Just git add dot, git commit -m, and then you want to describe what you did. Add Supabase user authentication and database. And then you have it in quotations. It's going to stage those changes. And then you do git push origin main. So doing this is going to push all of the code we just did. We're going to push that to GitHub. So that way everything is synced inside of GitHub from our local computer. And now I'm going to show you how to actually take what you built and host it on Vercel so that anyone can access this on the internet and you have a fully deployed AI app. So I'm going to go to new project, and all we have to do is import from your GitHub. So you literally just sign in with GitHub, sync your GitHub account, and then everything from GitHub is going to be available here in Vercel. I'm going to click import. The framework, it is pulling that, I think, from the code, so that's fine. And then we're going to click deploy. So what this is going to do is take all the code and deploy it. Now, if there's any errors, it'll let you know, but it's going to deploy. And in a second, we are going to have a live URL, and you can add your own custom URL as well with Vercel, but you can also use Vercel's like subdomain to access the app as well. Okay, it's deployed. We deployed a new project. Here we go. Let's click on it. So here we go. This is a URL on the internet to access what we were building locally. And we can even test it out by signing in, and anyone could access this. And here we go. I'm logged in. And again, this is totally on the internet. It's deployed. Anyone has access to it. Let's sign out and let's add one more thing. Let's have it create a marketing landing page, and we're going to push that, and I'm going to show you how that works with Vercel. So let's add a new page. I'm going to say create a basic landing page on the home page to market the app and its features. Say keep it simple. And then let's also do a different model for this just to maybe show you how that works. So we can do different model. We can use the Composer 1 model, which is Cursor's own model, which is really fast. And I think does a pretty good job. And especially for something like this, where it's like not logic. It's really just a landing page. We can do that. And literally you can see how fast that is. Like it is almost done already. It's basically just building out some checking for errors. And there we go. It's done. So this was like, I would say maybe 5 times faster than Opus. And it's also much cheaper. So this is where you need to think about the tasks that you're doing and potentially change the model depending on what those are. Okay, so now we have our basic landing page. It did it really quickly. The design is really simple. It's not going to be great with Composer versus like Claude is going to have a much better design, but it's really not bad. So if you click Get Started, it's going to take you to the login page. So let's push that live. So let's go ahead and in the terminal, we're going to do git add dot, git commit added marketing landing page, git push origin me. So we're going to do that really quickly. So if we go back to Vercel, it's going to be set up by default that when we push to GitHub, it's going to automatically deploy a new version of that app. And that's something you can change in the settings. But here we can see, I didn't do anything. I just refreshed the page and we can see just now. And now the landing page is different and updated. So really simple, but cool feature and just showing you how you can add that and how the deployment updates work. Again, that's something that you can change in the settings of Vercel. Let me know in the comments what you think of this workflow and process, and if this is something that you could see yourself using. If there's anything you want me to cover in the future, let me know, and subscribe to our channel to get more free content like this. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.